Vibudhyatam balakamarikagraham Characharatma sanimilitekshana Anantamaropayadangam Yathoragam suptamabuddhirajyudhi Vibudhyatam balakamarikagraham Characharatma sanimilitekshana Anantamaropayadangam Yathoragam suptamabuddhirajyudhi Amaropayadangam Yathoragam suptamabuddhirajyudhi Vibudhyatam balakamarikagraham Characharatma sanimilitekshana Anantamaropayadangam Yathoragam suptamabuddhirajyudhi Vibudhyatam balakamarikagraham Characharatma sanimilitekshana Anantamaropayadangam Yathoragam suptamabuddhirajyudhi Vibudhyatam balakamarikagraham Characharatma samilitekshana Anantamaropayadangam Yathoragam suptamabuddhirajyudhi. Word to translation. Vibudhya, understanding. Tam, hair, Putana. Balakamarikagraham, a witch very expert in killing small babies. Chara Achara Atma, Krishna, the all-pervading Supersoul. Saha, he. Nimilita Ikshanaha, closed his eyes. Anantam, the unlimited. Aropayat, she placed. Ankam, on her lap. Antakam, for her own annihilation. Yatha, as. Uragam, a snake. Suptam, while sleeping. Abuddhi, a person who has no intelligence. Rajyudhihi, one who thinks a snake to be a rope. Lord Krishna, the all-pervading supersoul, lying on the bed, understood that Putana, a witch who was expert in killing small children, had come to kill him. Therefore, as if afraid of her, Krishna closed his eyes. Thus Putana took upon her lap him who was to be her own annihilation, just as an unintelligent person places a sleeping snake on his lap, thinking the snake to be a rope. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, there are two perplexities. When Krishna saw that Putana had come to kill him, he thought that since this woman was present with motherly affection, although artificial, he had to offer her a benediction. Therefore, he looked at her with a little perplexity and then closed his eyes again. Putana Rakshasi also was perplexed. She was not intelligent enough to understand that she was taking a sleeping snake on her lap. She thought the snake to be an ordinary rope. The two words Antakam and Anantam are contradictory because of not being intelligent. Putana thought that she could kill her Antakam, the source of her annihilation. But because he is Ananta, unlimited, no one can kill him. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanyitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanyitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchagalpadarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhutair Mahatbhir Yaima Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shete Yadamusha Purusha Bhungte Gunan Shodashatmaka Solang Krishishta Bhagavan Vacham Sime. Hare Krishna. We are continuing on the pastime of killing of the demon Putana. So in Bhagavatam, each verse is narrating a particular scene as the pastime is progressing. So in the previous verse, Putana has already approached Krishna and she has already seen Krishna lying on the bed. Now from there, the pastime is continuing. So for devotees, and most of the devotees, or I cannot say most of the devotees, but we have many devotees who are practicing for many years. We have plenty of devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness, chanting 16 rounds for 10 years, 15 years, etc., right? And even more. So if you see even our congregation, we can see plenty of devotees who are practicing more than 10 years. And it becomes very significant for us to understand these pastimes carefully. Because we are sadhakas. There may be few siddhas, but generally devotees are sadhakas. So we are on the platform of sadhana. And sadhana is generally translated as practice, and that makes complete sense. At the same time, sadhana or sadhanam can also mean an instrument. So now, if you want to do something, and if we have a defective instrument, it is very difficult to get the job done, right? If there is a carpenter, if the saw is blunt, and it is very difficult to cut anything. Or if you have a drill and it is very blunt, then it may not even achieve the purpose. Similarly, for devotees, since we are claiming to be sadhakas, then our sadhana has to have some quality. Otherwise, we will not achieve what we desire for. So this is a very significant point that we need to understand. That's why we chant on a daily basis, Bahu Janmagariri Shravanam Kirtanam Tabutana Paye Krishna Pade Premadhan. One can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra for Bahu Janma, not one lifetime. We are not talking about few decades, a few years. No, we are talking about many lifetimes one can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One can get initiated many lifetimes. One can chant 16 rounds, practically forever. Still, one may not achieve the desired success, which is Krishna Prem as we chant. So now, as sadhakas, it is our responsibility to have good sadhana. Or we need to have sharpened tools to get our job done. Otherwise, it will not work. So this is a very significant point for all of us. And as I mentioned, most of our devotees are not in the category of very new. If you find devotees in general, okay, we may have devotees in 2-3 years, 3-4 years, a few. But we have a significant number of devotees who are practicing more than 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And for us, it becomes very significant. And also, those who are coming up in their Krishna consciousness, practicing for a few years, for them also it becomes very significant to understand how can we sharpen the tool of sadhana. Otherwise, what is the problem? If we practice for 10 years, 15 years, and if we don't see any tangible progress in our Krishna consciousness, then we tend to doubt the process. That is one problem. One can have doubts. Whether is this process actually working? Am I getting anywhere? I don't have any taste in chanting. I am not really attracted to Krishna or the process as such. It's okay. But I cannot see any tangible progress. And if that happens, one can doubt the process, and it means that one can lose faith. So this is one problem. If our sadhana is not all right, or if the tool in our job is not sharpened. This is one problem. One can have doubts, and eventually one may lose the faith. So it may look like it is good to float. Floating in Krishna consciousness is good to float. I am chanting, at least 16 rounds are happening somehow or other. It is good to float, but that is not good enough. It has a serious problem that it can have detrimental to our own Krishna consciousness, because it can cause loss of faith. Second, when there is a loss of faith, the next thing is, maybe this is not the process, or it's something wrong with the process, and it is problem with the institution. These are the two other doubts that can arise along with that. One is, there is something wrong with the process. If one can doubt that, then it is very detrimental, because then one will stop chanting. Second is, there is some problem with the association, or there is something problem with the institution in itself. Because I'm around for long enough, but I haven't made any tangible progress. So there has to be something wrong with the association, and broadly, there has to be something wrong with the process which is given by the institution. So this loss of faith can go in different directions. Then as a result of that, one may think that I had to find Krishna consciousness, if one is lucky, somewhere else. I need to go somewhere else to be Krishna conscious. And some people think that even I had to relocate to somewhere else, then only I can make progress in bhakti. So where is the actual problem lying? The real problem is lying in the sadhana in itself. So as devotees are practicing Krishna consciousness, we have a responsibility to have proper sadhana. We need to have that attempt to have proper sadhana. Otherwise, we can see many issues. Another issue is if we don't develop sufficient taste, or if we don't get nourishment in our practice, then currently what devotees do, they start listening from someone else through social media or internet. This is a common thing. In bhakti, it is mentioned very clearly in the 11th canto, because of bhakti, one need to have direct experience of reality. In what way? Tushti, pushti and kshud apaya. Tushti, pushti, kshud apaya. Tushti is satisfaction. Pushti is nourishment. Kshud apaya is freedom from hunger. So tushti, nourishment has to happen. So we need to see in our life, is there nourishment from Krishna consciousness? If there is nourishment, we will become inspired. And then tushti, satisfaction will be there. The tushti, pushti is the nourishment. So when there is pushti, naturally there will be satisfaction. And then kshut apaya, in our case, there will be some reduction in our material desires, right? Then we can see tangibly that, okay, the material desires are reducing, and I am inspired, I am satisfied, I am inspired, and I am feeling nourished in Krishna consciousness. So in terms of this example is given in terms of eating. Apaya anughasam. Anughasam means each morsel of food we are eating. Prasadam, that we don't have any problem. We are very happy having prasadam, and we actually feel tushti, right? That is one thing, at least I feel all the time. Tushti, satisfied, having prasadam, which is good. Because that is another problem too. Because even though we have so much of an opportunity to have prasadam, still devotees may have tendency to go outside and eat, right? We have prasadam 3 or 4 or 5 times distributed here. On top of that, we have prasadam table. On top of that, we have restaurants. We have plenty of opportunities for having prasadam. So that is at least a good point to start with. So while having prasadam, we feel tushti, we feel pushti, and we feel kshutapaya. Similarly, we need to feel all 3 in our Krishna consciousness. And if it may not be on the greatest degree, but progressively. And if not, we are in danger. We are in danger zone. And so devotees have to catch oneself. Okay, I am in danger zone. Look, I am not feeling. And then we need to do something about it. And that's where, it is so important to understand pastimes of the Lord. It is very important to understand pastimes of the Lord and develop some taste for pastimes of the Lord. It is very important. Otherwise, we don't have anything positive to think about. Yesterday, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was mentioning about people, there are literalists on the lowest level, and in between he was mentioning Madhyama. They want some instructional or some examples or some, what is the term that's been used? that ethical is there. But we can use some analogies or something we can learn from the pastimes. It is more instructional. It can be instructional. And on the ultimate level, it is transcendental. Ultimately on the transcendental. Now, when we start our Krishna consciousness, we may take it very literally. Or we just see it as stories. And those who have intelligence may see that it is just very simplistic. However, it is important that through our practice, and which will happen naturally, through our sadhana, we come to a point where we start relishing or at least having some attraction for pastimes of the Lord. And so, it is very important that we develop first appreciation for Krishna. We develop appreciation for pastimes of Krishna. We develop appreciation for qualities of Krishna. So it is the beginning. We may not be in the level of attraction, that is okay. Or one may not be immersed, that's all good, that's advanced. But to start with, one needs to have appreciation for pastimes of Krishna. And especially when we are dealing with the 10th canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, we need to develop that appreciation. And to develop appreciation, we need to know the pastimes. And with some details. And then we feel, okay, there is more to it. We can appreciate. Srila Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book introduction, it is essential for persons who are actually liberated to hear about the pastimes of Krishna. So, important point. As if you are liberated, hear pastimes of Krishna. Is that all? That is the supreme relishable subject matter for one in the liberated state. Also, if persons who are trying to be liberated hear such narrations as Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, then their path of liberation becomes very clear. So, Krishna book introduction, Srila Prabhupada very clearly mentions it's important for sadhakas, those who are aspiring liberation, to hear pastimes of the Lord, because the path of liberation becomes clear for all of us. And because of that, it is very important to understand pastimes of Krishna as given by Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book. And if one wants to know further, if one has already studied Srila Prabhupada's books, one should read commentaries of Acharyas. In that way, one can know more about pastimes of Krishna and one can develop a bit more appreciation. So it is our responsibility to understand it properly. Otherwise, we can be quite stuck. And unfortunately, what happens to many devotees, I have heard from many devotees, we want to hear pastimes from non-ISKCON devotees, and they may be very charismatic speakers, and they may focus on Radha Krishna pastimes, and they want to hear from them. And there is a serious problem in that. One can say, okay, we can learn from everywhere. It's the generic principle. Chanakya Pandit says, okay, if there is a gold, you can accept from anywhere. If there is a good lady, and one can accept as a wife from anywhere, it doesn't matter what family. So there are mentions like this. However, we need to understand what is our maturity. If we are not matured enough, one cannot discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. And that basic discrimination comes from studying Srila Prabhupada's books. So that is one important thing that devotees should know. One has to study Srila Prabhupada's books. That's why we have Bhakti Shastri, we have Bhakti Vaibhav, we have Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Sarvabhauma. These are serious studies of Srila Prabhupada's books. And if one is not doing courses, that's okay. One can still read and understand pastimes of the Lord clearly. And if we don't invest, then there are challenges. And then devotees do say that, okay, we are not getting nourishment. And we have to go for, 10 minutes clips from non-ISKCON devotees, which may not be really representing Siddhanta, which is given by our parampara. So there is a lot of danger. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says that one has to work on the anartha nivritti. One has to work on anartha nivritti, which is very important. And after anartha nivritti, there is artha pravritti. So seeing artha pravritti, what is the ultimate objective? One should know. So in the beginning itself, we need to know that, okay, there is a purpose in hearing and chanting. And so we have a great opportunity here to understand the 10th canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Here is the pastime of Putana. And Putana is representing a false guru. So we'll get into that a little bit. It is this analogy was given by Bhaktivedanta Thakur in Sri Krishna Samhita. Bhaktivedanta Thakur says that he would like to really comment on the entire Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as a Hamsa. But since Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is so voluminous, I don't have time for that. So I will only give some essential points. So the Krishna Samhita is a very small book. One can read in few days. That small book it is. So here, see this pastime, so amazing. Vibudhyatam balaka marika graham. So here, vibudhya means understanding, tam, her, as balaka marika graham. Who is going to, a witch who is expert in killing babies. So, Krishna immediately understood who has arrived. How he understood, that is explained in the next line. What is that? Characharatma. Krishna is Characharatma. Who is Krishna is Characharatma. He is Characharatma. He is present in Chara and Achara. Chara means moving entities and non-moving entities. He is present everywhere. He is Characharatma. So because he is Characharatma, immediately he understood Vibudhya. He understood who Putana is and what is her intention. At the same time, it's an interesting thing mentioned here is Characharatma sa nimilita ekshanaha. Nimilita means closed his eyes. Unmilita means open. Nimilita means close. So Krishna closed his eyes. So this is interesting. We can even see a contradiction here itself. What will happen if Characharatma closes his eyes? He knows everything in moving and non-moving entities. And if he closes his eyes, will that affect his cognition in any way? No. So there itself we can see that. It's an interesting way of presenting that. Characharatma sa nimilita ekshana. Even though he is all-knowing, still he closed his eyes. And there is a lot of explanation given why he closed his eyes. Second is anantam aropayat ankam antakam. So here also it is mentioned that there is a contradiction in the statement that anantam and antakam. They sound, it is presented in a very poetic fashion that anantam aropayat ankam antakam. Anantam is unlimited. Aropayat placed. Ankam on the lap. Antakam, who is the annihilator, who is going to kill, who is going to destroy. So Putana has a great desire to kill Krishna. And so she placed Krishna on her lap. But this Antaka, he happened to be her Antaka. So she wanted to kill her own Antaka, her own annihilator, which is not possible. So that is a contradiction. She had the desire to kill who is going to kill her. So she placed this Antaka on her lap. And so she is considered foolish, and an analogy is given at the end. Yatha uragam, just like suptam uragam, that is a snake who is sleeping. And Putana is compared to abuddhi. She is very unintelligent, foolish. Rajjudhi, abuddhi, rajjudhi. So this kind of analogy is quite commonly given in Vedic literature, that considering a sleeping snake to be a rope and vice versa. Other is also given. Considering rope to be a snake. So both analogies are given in Vedic literature. So here it is, she is very unintelligent. So she considered Krishna to be just like a rope. But he is a sleeping snake. Usually we don't see such kind of analogies to describe Krishna, isn't it? We never compare Krishna to be a snake. But this is the point, that because she was a witch, for her, Krishna is like a snake. Srila Prabhupada has explained this, that for non-devotees, Kala Sarpa, the time comes as a serpent, as death. So this is for non-devotees. And for devotees, death is all attractive. Because death is Krishna. So here, there is no death, as it is mentioned here for devotee. But for her, obviously there is death. Now, it is explained that these two words, Ananta and Antaka, are simultaneously used. Why? To create Adbhuta Rasa. Adbhuta Rasa. Adbhuta means wonder. To show great wonder. How is it possible to have this Ananta and Antaka simultaneously? To show that, to create that wonder, these two words are used. And then why did Krishna close his eyes? So first point is mentioned that Krishna is performing his childhood pastime, his Naralila. And since he is performing his Naralila, he is a child. He is Characharatma, but he cannot act as a Characharatma. Then there is no meaning in the pastimes of Krishna. And because of that, as a child can close the eyes, he can open the eyes. And why a child usually sees somebody can close the eyes out of fear. So since Krishna saw Putana, being a child, out of fear, he closed his eyes. So that is one reason. And so in that way, Krishna himself is facilitating the Naralila, his human pastimes. And he cannot act as Characharatma. If he acts as the Paramatma, and Krishna can say, I know why have you arrived in front of me. I know already. I am going to kill you. Do you want to try to kill me? Then there is no Leela, there is no fun. And this is Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, Krishna cannot show his power. So it's not possible. So he has to act as a child, and out of fear, he closed his eyes. Then Krishna thought, why should I see such an inauspicious person? She has dressed as a mother, and now she has arrived to kill me. I don't want such inauspicious vision. So thinking that, Krishna closed his eyes. Not only that, Krishna thought, she is very inauspicious, right? But Krishna's drishti, if Krishna's vision falls anywhere, then there will be nourishment. There will be auspiciousness. So, if he glances upon Putana, the most inauspicious person, what will happen? She will become very auspicious person. And then that also cannot facilitate the pastimes of the Lord. So it is not possible. That's why even we chant in Damodarashtam, Kripa Drishti Vrishtyadi Deenam Batanu. Kripa Drishti Vrishti. So Krishna's Drishti is Kripa Drishti, means it's full of mercy. Kripa Drishti Vrishti. Vrishti means rain. So the Satyavrata Muni is praying Kripa Drishti Vrishti, a shower of merciful glances, a shower of your merciful glances. So that's what Satyavrata Muni is praying for. So similarly, Krishna knows this. So Krishna is very intelligent. So Krishna said, look, I will not give auspiciousness now, because at least he has to attempt to kill me. Right? So Krishna thought, okay, I will not do that. So he didn't give his auspicious vision. And then Krishna thought, look, she has come as a woman and as a mother. So Krishna felt very ashamed. How can I kill a woman, that too, who is going to pose herself as a mother? Already Krishna is on her lap. So he felt ashamed. And he thought, okay, I will close my eyes. So this is Krishna's qualities. And also, In fact, he was ashamed because Krishna is, in fact, an ocean of all good qualities. He is Gunanidhi. He is an ocean of all good qualities. Since he is an ocean of all good qualities, it is very unnatural for him to kill somebody who is coming as a mother. Even though she is posing, still, it is very unnatural for him. He cannot do it by normal means. So he decided, I will close my eyes. So there are many reasons, right? Can you remember any reason so far? Before going any further. Okay, one, his glance will create auspiciousness. So inauspicious will become auspicious. Then she will not be able to attempt to kill him. Then one reason. Yes. Ashamed. He was ashamed because he is an ocean of good qualities and he didn't want to kill Putana. What's next? Yeah, he acted fearfully as a child. That is very important. Acted fearfully because he is a child. Then pastimes can go on. Then he thought, yes. That's right, exactly. He didn't want to see something inauspicious. And that comes to the next point. And the most inauspicious thing is to see a mother, right? It's pretty, death is one thing. You can see a mother. Who is going to murder? Krishna knows he is going to murder. And he didn't want to see himself murdering Putana. So he decided, I don't want to see this murder scene, this violence. It's very ghastly. Look, I am a child. Why should I see? So he thought, okay, I will close my eyes. Can you see? He doesn't want to see any violence. That's why children shouldn't see violence. It's not good. It will have deep impact in the consciousness, in the mind. And now, if you want to hear violence, if you want to seek violence, Krishna's pastimes, it's okay. Otherwise, no more violence. Not on the screen. Here we can see, we can hear violence and we can be happy. Right? When you see Krishna's violence, devotees are very happy. It is purifying. So it's very good. Then Krishna thought that my glances are very powerful. It's not just the question of auspicious or inauspicious. My glances are very powerful that even simply by my glance, I can completely overpower Putana. Krishna opens his eyes. By his glance, he can overpower Putana. And then she cannot do anything. Isn't it true? He's Characharatma. Remember, he's Characharatma. He doesn't have any problem. He has to simply think. He doesn't have to even look. Right? Because if you see Nimilita Ekshana, if you see the closing of the eyes, Krishna can do everything just by closed eyes. Right? We chant this verse. Before Bhagavatam, I chanted. What is that? Nirmaya Shete Yadamusha Purusha. Nirmaya Shete. Nirmaya means for Nirman, for creation. Shete, he's sleeping. So he closed his eyes. Right? He's sleeping. What happened? Yadamusha Purusha. This is the position of the Lord. Nirmaya Shete Yadamusha Purusha. Bhunkte Gunan Shodasha Shodashatmaka. Bhunkte. He can bhunkte, he means, one meaning of bhunkte is he enjoys. The only person who can enjoy guna, is Krishna. No one else can enjoy gunas. Can we enjoy gunas? Gunas means three modes of material nature. Can we do that? No. Our enjoyment of three modes of material nature is called suffering. So the only person who can actually enjoy the three modes of material nature is Krishna. That is creation. Bhunkte gunan shodasha, shodashatmaka. Starting from the 16, the Mahabhut, the material elements. So we say sometimes 5, 16 different numbers, but it is a representative of 24 material elements. So the Lord is able to enjoy that. So this is Krishna. So for creation means he doesn't have to open his eyes. So with his opened eyes, definitely he can overpower Putana, and he didn't want that to happen. So he thought, okay, let me close my eyes. And also, it is mentioned that Putana dressed similar to Mother Rohini. So she was looking like Mother Rohini. So he was thinking, how can I kill my own mother? She is looking like Rohini. She is my mother, right? Yashoda is the mother, Rohini is also mother. So she's like the mother, and he could find such a resemblance between Rohini Devi and Putana in her very beautiful form. So she thought, somebody is resembling one's own mother. Is it easy to kill or even to hurt? Not possible. So he thought, better let me close my eyes. So can you see, we described about 8 reasons why Krishna closed his eyes. So it is coming from the commentaries of Vishwanath Thakur, Jiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So they give different reasons why Krishna closed his eyes, and some reasons are same as well. So it's very important. So it's very good to know why Krishna closed his eyes, and then what he will do? He is going to kill Putana. So that is going to happen. That is a whole description is given how he is going to kill Putana. That is also very, very fascinating. That's why Śrīmad Bhāgavatam verses, if you actually really get into the meanings of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam verse, each verse is like a short video clip. Really, it is. Every verse is like that. Every verse, especially when it comes to pastimes of Krishna, every verse has such deep meaning and so much explanation. And if you get into it, it is really, really attractive. And this is the way we can develop some appreciation for Bhagavatam verses. And then we can memorize key Bhagavatam verses. These pastime verses are very interesting. Vibudhyatam balika marakagraham characharatma sanimilita ekshana anantam aropet ankamantakam yathorugam suptam abuddhi rajudhi. So, if we can meditate on pastimes of Krishna by going through verses, then it becomes natural. It becomes natural to our mind. Then that will help our whole sadhana process. If not, as it is mentioned, we can hear a very important instruction to be learned apart from this is seeing Putana as who? Putana is representing false guru. Putana is representing false guru. Bhaktivedanta Thakur as well as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote articles about it. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as a whole article, it's called Putana. In Sajjana Toshini, his article is known as Putana. It can be a little difficult to understand because of the English. It is such a hi-fi English. It can become, you need to read very carefully, very slowly to understand that article. But the article is titled Putana. So there, one point he mentions is about the false gurus. He considered Kamsa as a materialist and Putana as like a false guru. There are many false gurus. There are many false gurus. And we have to be very careful about them. And that's why when we come to our parampara, and specifically when it comes to our ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada has given everything. If we want to go deeper in our Krishna consciousness, if we want to develop taste in Krishna consciousness, whatever is required, everything is present in Srila Prabhupada's books. And if we are going elsewhere, we are compromising on the faith, because depending on our reading and our hearing, we are developing a certain kind of faith. So that's the reason it is mentioned that if we hear from Mayavadis, what is the problem? Even if we hear maybe the right things from Mayavadis, we are deviating our faith, for example. Or even if we are hearing from devotees from other sampradayas, if we don't have discrimination, we can deviate our faith. Because ultimately, if you see our parampara, it is giving Krishna Bhakti in a particular fashion. It has a particular flavor. And it is very specific. And if we don't stick to that, our growth can be impeded. It can become mixed. It can be mixed. On one level, it can be mixed with apasampradayas. And it can also be mixed because of rasabhas. It can also be mixed with other rasas coming in, and our faith may not grow properly. So that's the reason what we hear is very important. What we read is very important. And so we need to take shelter of bona fide hearing. Of course, we should avoid hearing from false gurus, that is Putana. We should avoid taking shelter of them. Otherwise, our Krishna consciousness is going to be completely ruined. So it is our responsibility. It is individual responsibility. So this is Purushottam month. So it is a good opportunity to have some quality reading and hearing of Srila Prabhupada's books and teachings. So we need to take that endeavor, make that endeavor to do that. Beginning of Purushottam month, I mentioned this. The day before or the day of starting, if I remember, I gave a Bhagavatam class. Now we have passed maybe a week or so. Yeah, we have passed a week. So it's a reminder for myself and everyone. So take this opportunity to absorb ourselves in Krishna consciousness with some quality chanting, quality reading, good sadhana, of course, good service, so that there will be progress in Krishna consciousness and it becomes tangible. And we feel nourished, we feel satisfied, and we feel that, okay, material desires are at least going down, subsiding a bit. So I stop here. See if there are any questions or comments. Yes. Can you pass the microphone, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you mentioned about progressing in bhakti and how important it is. And we've also heard in lectures that sincerity is valued more than perfection in devotional service. So Prabhu, how do we know whether the genuine progress is happening or not? You mentioned how, the nourishment is there and then there's satisfaction. But how do we understand whether the heart is getting purified or not?
So the question is, how do we know whether the heart is purified or not? There are different ways we can know whether it's not 100% purified. That's easy to know whether it's 100% purified. If you don't see anarthas, then it's easier. But generally, how can we know how we make progress? One, we can observe our chanting. How far are we able to listen? Point number one. Point number two, do we have absorption in chanting? Step number two. So if we can check these two, it is easier to know. In terms of chanting, how are we making progress? And broadly, we can check in terms of what is the kind of desires that we are keeping in our mind. Third, which is also very important, how much taste we have for serving Krishna, hearing about Krishna, reading about Krishna, etc. We need to see that. So it is. There are many ways we can see whether we are making progress or not, and all of them are important also. Hare Krishna.
Just to follow, excuse me. Excuse me. Just to follow on, how much, when you say that developing taste is a sign that we're making advancement, how much does our willingness to, or our desire to share Krishna consciousness with others factor into this?
I missed that point, Mataji. Can you come again?
Sorry.
I missed that point.
Oh, good.
I didn't hear.
Oh, sorry.
Ah.
You mentioned that our increasing taste is a symptom that we're making advancement. So if we have increasing taste to share Krishna consciousness with others, is that a symptom?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. If you're full, you want to give. That's a good point, Mataji. That if you're full, then you want to share with others. If you don't have anything, there is nothing to give. So definitely it is a symptom. Thank you. Okay. Any final question? Yes, Mataji.
Hi Krishna Prabhu, thank you. Prabhu, you were mentioning about the false guru. So Prabhu, sometimes when we are in an environment where we can see others, they have higher taste than us. Like we can see the symptoms like when they pray, when they do the service. But they are in the other sampradayas. So how do we stay in line, like we have strong faith in Srila Prabhupada, and how from that line we can convey them, because when we know that our bhakti is lesser than them, so how, if we are sitting in that environment, so how do we remain faithful but still we can convey our message?
It's a very, very good question actually, because we can see advanced devotees in many sampradayas. Some can be bona fide and some may not be even bona fide, so we cannot call them really advanced. Some will be bona fide and some will not be bona fide. First, we will have to make that distinction, whether are they coming from a bona fide parampara or not, naturally, because display of devotion we cannot directly judge. Now, assuming that we see devotees who are advanced, there are so many devotees, or probably many devotees who are more advanced than us in other sampradayas. What can we do? So it can be our inspiration. So there are devotees who are advanced, more advanced than us. That's very good. We can get inspiration from them. The point is, what is the source of advancement for us? That's the only thing. So we need to come to our parampara. We need to come to Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And then we need to have that faith that from this we can make all advancement. And how do we know? This is a good question, because we need to know this intellectually also. Okay, one, we can say that, okay, we have all the advanced devotees in our sampradaya. That is one point. But apart from that, we can know this very clearly because our sampradaya is coming through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Now, there is a song itself that how do we know about the Mahima of Srimati Radharani, greatness of Srimati Radharani, without Lord Chaitanya? If Lord Chaitanya was not there, the world will not have any understanding of the glories of Srimati Radharani. So, we need to know where is our parampara coming from. It is directly coming from Krishna. And we also need to know that all other Sampradaya Acharyas received mercy of Lord Chaitanya. All Sampradaya Acharyas. All of them. All key Acharyas, all key Sampradaya Acharyas received mercy of Lord Chaitanya. They had darshan of Lord Chaitanya, including Madhvacharya. Had darshan of Lord Chaitanya. And Mayavadi Acharya, Shankaracharya, Mahaprabhu told, don't enter Navadvip. Here I am going to appear. So don't preach your impersonalism here. Go anywhere else. Can you see that? So all the Sampradaya Acharyas received mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So we should never be critical, or we don't want to look down upon anyone. We have to see everyone with respect. But we can have faith in our Sampradaya because see that it is coming from Lord Chaitanya, directly coming from Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. and coming through the 6 Goswamis. Who are they? They are from the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. All of them. Now here the point we need to understand is, we have Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Prabhupada gave us Nectar of Devotion, and it is going to be published hopefully by this year as a 5-volume series with commentaries from different acharyas from BBT. So we have the treasure of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, which is directly coming from Rupa Goswami, who was instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you are talking about progress in bhakti, it has to be in line with Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we have that. And we can, if you want to go deeply, yes, we can study Nectar of Devotion. And when you get the book, study deeply. So please try to see what we have, what Prabhupada has given. So all the Goswami, they are insiders. Rupa Goswami is insider from the pastimes of the Lord, who has appeared as Rupa Goswami and instructing us directly, as instructed by Lord Chaitanya. So see the acharyas who are coming through, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaurkishore Das Babaji. If you see all the Srila Prabhupada, if you see acharyas, so we have such a pristine, most advanced devotional line. That's the reality. If you objectively look, this line is the greatest, because Lord Himself is giving this understanding. So this helps us to intellectually understand why do we have to follow our parampara. Okay, one is faith, that is there, but at least this understanding will support our faith. So there is nothing more to be received. So we need to know this point very clearly. There is nothing more to be received from anywhere else. Everything is given in this line. So if we lose this faith, then there is a serious problem. I had to go somewhere else, I had to listen from somewhere else, then it is a serious problem to our own bhakti. That's why I earlier mentioned about listening from other sources. That is a serious impediment to our own bhakti. And many people don't see like that. They are also devotees, what they are speaking is inspirational. They may not have any parampara, that's okay. But what they speak, what they hear, what we hear, it's all good. It is helping my chanting. But we are losing faith in our own parampara. And as a bottom line, no one can give understanding about Radha Krishna, about pastimes of Vrindavan, more than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's what we have. So this is a great fortune that we have Srila Prabhupada's purports. And if you want to know more, one can read commentaries of Acharyas if one has studied Srila Prabhupada's books. One can read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Amazing book. After studying Srila Prabhupada's books, next to read is Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It's a very, 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 very important reading, an important book to understand about rasa. Amazing book. If you start reading, it's just an amazing book. So we don't have any dearth of information that has been provided. It's the only thing is we had to take it seriously. That's all. Yes. Is that okay? Yes, bro. Yeah. Yeah. You want to speak on this?
Thank you, Prabhu. That's a nice point you brought. Beginning of your discussion, Bhagavatam, that the sadhaka must observe he's advancing or not, whether he's losing his faith, and how much faith he has in his listening to through the parampara. It's very important because nowadays everything is getting diluted through the social media, hearing podcasts, and people bring pastimes, and they might even bring tears to your eyes, but there is no potency which creates deeper loyalty to your parampara or to your Srila Prabhupada. So it's very important to understand what sacrifice the parampara has done for us to sit here and understand, listen to this. So thank you for that.
Because what happens is, if there is a 5-minute snippet in the social media, that can be quite attractive. At the same time, it may not be bona fide, we don't know the source. Because this is a very important point, because we need to know the source. Gaur Govinda Maharaj says, if you're quoting something, what is the source? Otherwise you are a cheater. This is what Maharaj says, Asked one devotee, he made a point. Okay, what is the reference? He couldn't. He said, then you are a cheater. We cannot be cheaters. So, we don't know the source. We don't know whether it's bona fide. So it's a problem. So we have to be very careful. Go to the bona fide source. And then we can see that we actually make progress. That's all. I think one devotee was making a point that many people actually, even Bhagavad Gita, when they read Bhagavad Gita first time, they didn't even understand anything. Okay, this is a real life story. Met one person, OC boy, in the early 20s. He was talking to us about offering and this and that. So altar, I have an altar, I offer. So he asked, okay, where do you meet devotees? So he said, I never met any devotees. He said he got a copy of Bhagavad Gita. First time he attempted to read Bhagavad Gita, he said, I couldn't understand, it didn't make any sense. He just kept it aside. And then after 6 months, he picked up, he started reading, he said, I could understand everything. So one devotee made a very interesting point that even if we attempt to read Srila Prabhupada's books, we get some mercy. That becomes the qualification to understand more. So that's all is required. Can you see that? Attempt to read. So if you do that attempt, then Prabhupada is so merciful. We will be able to understand. And after 6 months, he was able to read, understand, he started chanting and he started offering without any association of the devotees. These are real stories. I spoke to him. We went on a walk, few of us, for trekking. And this boy was telling this story. Oh, he was asking, I have an altar, I'm offering. Then asking, altar, offering. Did you meet any devotees? No. Just got Bhagavad Gita. So this is the potency of Bhagavad Gita. This is the potency of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Then what to speak about Chaitanya Charitamrita? So we need to really understand what we are dealing with. Just don't be sidetracked. It's not an ISKCON fanaticism. Oh, don't listen for anyone else. Okay, advanced people, they may listen, they may be able to understand, they may be able to discriminate, they may tell some points, that is okay. But ourselves, better not venture into it. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Grandhara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Namaham bhajami. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanstam Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Musmakarang Saparitarya Tarya Satsana Nam Sri Bhushan Bhuvadi Jaya Ananta Kodi Vaishnavindi Ki Namacharya Sri Dasa Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Gopal Jaya Radha Raman Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radha Raman